Hey, and welcome back to Talk About Worlds. I'm SirFelixTheCat, and today is the Blender. I'm going to do things a little bit different today, and I am going to do a tier list of the Dragonquest games. So, here we have Tier Maker, and I have all our games lined up in story chronological order instead of release order, but that works for me. So, yeah, let's get into this. So, I'm going to start off with the Dragon Quest 3, or Dragon Warrior 3 for America. This game is pretty influential. I'm sure a lot of people are stoked for the remake, the HD 2D remake that's coming out soon. I didn't spend too much time on this one. I honestly prefer other ones more than this. Not going to really knock it, but for me, it is honestly just a B. I'll get more into that later. It was probably a high point in the game series itself for story, because it kind of did bring together the original trilogy, but still it just, to me, it doesn't have the same influential power as other games in the series did. So let's go on to Dragon Warrior. So I don't know if you all can see, I actually keep it up here in my, well, that's not a real Nintendo, but, you know, my knockoff Nintendo. That is the first game of the series I ever played. I played this when I was a kid. It is a fantastic game. It's a little old these days. It doesn't really stand up to, how should I put this, like, attention spans. Since it is older, kind of like 3 did the same thing. But if you decide to take a break for a couple days, even you didn't take notes of what you're doing, yeah, you're kind of screwed. So that does hurt it a little bit, but still it's a very important game to me. It kicked off the series, even though it's the second story in the trilogy. But it got everything going. It showed us what Dragon Quest is all about. And for me, that is a solid A. Alright, on to Dragon Warrior Dragon Quest 2. Now, this would be the finale of the first trilogy. And it might not be as advanced as 3 is, because 3 is more advanced than 1 and 2. However, it had almost the same impact as 1, so I gotta be honest and say it is still better than 3. Again, no offense to anybody who likes 3 better, but that's my opinion on that one. Alright. Dragon Quest 6. So this is the beginning of the second trilogy. Of course, it's number 6. It's the 6th one release in that. But one thing that really got me hooked on this one is I love the intro, where your guy is there at a camp. You don't really know what's going on, but it really sets the mood for everything. So you wake up, you're talking to one of your allies, your other ally shows up, and you guys move on, and you're going to take out the Great Evil. You guys move along, you go through this castle, you meet the Great Evil, and you see just that you don't compare to this thing. This thing basically just traps you in some little orbs, spins you around, and sends you guys flying. You wake up in your house, and, you know, apparently it never happened, it was all just a dream. But one thing that really got me, and I don't know why I love this thing so much, the first time you walk out of your house, like, the sun shines, and it, like, goes across the screen. There's, like, a whole little sun flare, some really cool thing for back in the day. And that hooked me right away, just seeing, like, okay, so we're truly stepping up our game here. We're not doing just the same old thing that's in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We've kind of taken the next step. We've done the Square Enix thing, and we're moving on with, like, hey, better graphics. I truly appreciate that. Going more into it, the story is very awesome. To me, it screams, this is what Dragon Quest is. More than almost any other series. It might not be as dark as some of the things you find in 1 through 5, but it's got that true Dragon Quest feel to it. It's I'll get into it later, but one of my favorite games in the series. It's kind of got that same vibe. So this one for me, people may not agree. I know a lot of people on Reddit don't agree, but that is a solid S tier. We're gonna go on to Dragon Quest IV. So this is the first one released in this trilogy, but it's actually the second story, kind of like what we had with 1 through 3. This is a fan favorite, like, for sure. It's got a very interesting story in the way it works. You don't have just that one main character like you have for every other game. There's no just single leader. You have a full party. You're going to go through and you actually get to play through. You start off as Ragnar, this knight. You do his story. After you do his first intro, you then move on to a completely new character. And you're going to be doing their story and their intro. After that, you're going to do another one and another one. And all these stories so neatly combine. It's one of the most beautiful things to see in a JRPG, is all these characters uniting organically. You see their path of how they got there. It's not just like, hey, now I met Jill, and now I'm just going to hear a backstory of what she did. You actually did all that. It's a masterpiece of storytelling. I can say that much. And I'll be honest, this is my favorite series, or favorite trilogy, is 4 through 6. Unfortunately for me, it's not the greatest game. I do love it, but I honestly got to put it at a B. That's probably not going to go over too well with a lot of people, even though all the praise I just gave it. I don't know, it's lacking something. I think it did get better if you count in Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. That kind of helps pull it together for me, adds just that much more to it. It's a good game. I can't really knock it, but it's not top tier for me. Then we're gonna have Dragon Quest V. A side note on this one, I don't know if you ever watched, there is a Netflix exclusive movie you should definitely check out. Give me just one moment to see what this is.
One eternity later.
Okay, so it's Dragon Quest Your Story. This was released in 2019. This is a almost retelling of Dragon Quest V. It's a fantastic little movie. Definitely check that one out. Anyway, so in this one, you start off as a little kid, and your dad is like a great renowned warrior for the area. And unfortunately, you go through some stuff, you lose your dad, and you have to set out on your own, and you get involved with some crazy stuff. You end up going to, I can't remember what they called in this, it's like the Shadow Realm or something like that. It's like a different level of Earth. Like, in parts of it, you will literally go through holes and go to a different dimension. But in this one, it's pretty cool because you get to have a monster party, which is quite dope. It's like what they took Dragon Quest Monsters and combined it with the main series. That is a beautiful story. Absolutely one to check out. I mean, there isn't a single Dragon Quest game I'm not going to say don't check out. It's going to be an A for me. Alright, so on to Dragon Quest VII, or Dragon Warrior 7. So this is the first game that they made up to this point that was not part of a trilogy. It's just a standalone game, and it's got a very charming and interesting story. This one is basically the only part of the world that is known when you start off the game is the little island that you're on. That's where you were born, that's where your family lives, and that's really all there is. The rest of the world is just ocean. And there's a kingdom. Like, it's not a tiny island, but it's decent sized, whatever. But as you go through the game, you're actually going to be bringing back all the lost lands in this world. You team up. You have a nice little story about friendship, because you have your best friend who's the prince, and together you guys are you're going to bring back the world. It's also the first time they had a PlayStation exclusive, which is very interesting since everything else was Nintendo up to that point. This one, It is a 2-disc game. It is very long. The thing that really kind of puts a hamper on it for me is, and I love grinding, but the grind on this game can sometimes be a little absurd. I don't know how the Nintendo Switch, or not Nintendo Switch, the 3DS version is. I have it on my list to eventually play, but on the PS1, that grind is so unreal. It's a fun game. I can't really knock it. I do love all the enemies that you fight in it, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Good story, good game, but it's going to go on the C. And then we have Dragon Quest VIII, and I've issued praise on this one in my Dragon Quest video. This is the first time that you actually, if you didn't know at this point that Akira Toriyama was the artist for this game, you definitely know now because you're looking at the main character and you're like, hey, you look like Goku. And for me personally, it has some good memories that go back playing with one of my friends, or playing alongside of one of my friends, because we played it basically at the same time. And the story is fantastic. The music's fantastic. They brought everything to a modern time. This is on the PS2. They brought it to a modern point up to that point. And yeah, I love this game. This is honestly, next to Dragon Quest VI, this is my favorite Dragon Quest game. I am definitely going to put this one on the S tier. Another thing that really puts it up there is the Monster Coliseum. I think that's what they called it. Monster Coliseum in this game. How you go out and you'll see like these, usually you have random battles, but every once in a while you're going to see an actual monster on the world map, and that's going to be one that you can tame, and then you put it in your group and you go to the Monster Coliseum and do little battles, and I found that extremely fun. The characters in it are pretty fantastic. There's really nothing I can't say I don't love about this game. And then there's Dragon Quest IX. The Starry Sentinels, or Sentinels of the Stars, whatever it's called. This to me, I understand this was for the DS and we're coming from the PS2 for the last entry. This truly was a step forward and backward at the same time. I'm gonna have to put it down on C. No, I'm sorry. I gotta put it on D. It is a D game. It's not terrible. It doesn't have that same hook that other Dragon Quest games have. It's kind of upsetting in that sense. And then we are gonna move on to Dragon Quest X. So, Dragon Quest X is a game that I didn't get to play. It's a Japanese exclusive MMO. I have always wanted to play it, but unfortunately I've been waiting for a English or a US copy of it. Unfortunately that just hasn't happened. You can probably I know you can get something on Play Asia, which is, I think it's an offline mode. I really don't know. I don't know how an MMO is going to do offline mode. Maybe one day I'll check it out and do a video on that. I think that'd be pretty interesting. And then finally, we have Dragon Quest XI. I absolutely love this game. You got a wonderful cast, you have a wonderful story. It's going back to the Luminary, which is what 1, 2, and 3 is all about, is the Luminaries. And it's nice to see them pull back from the past and bring it back to modern times. They have a very deep, meaningful story. It has probably the best, I guess you would call it the end game. So if you haven't played Dragon Quest, a lot of Dragon Quest games, if not all of them, they go through and they have a story. And you'll fight the big boss. You'll roll credits. But then there's more. At least the modern Dragon Quest games do this. And after that, you go through and you find out who the true big bad is. And you go on a whole, it's not an extremely long quest, but you have at least one decently lengthy quest, and you're going to do a lot of fighting, a lot of enemies, and a lot of interesting story. This one, you kind of right all the wrongs that happened in the initial story. You saved loved ones, You bring everybody back. It's the most heartfelt endgame to the Dragon Quest series. This one is definitely going to be another S. And yeah, so that's my list. We have on the S tier 6, 8, and 11. A tier 1, 2, and 5. B tier 3 and 4. C tier Dragon Quest 7. Again, people are probably going to be upset about that one. D tier Dragon Quest 9. People are also probably going to be upset about that one. And then can't play because of Japanese exclusive is Dragon Quest 10. So, go ahead, let me know what you think about this one. I already know this is a very controversial list. These games, even though they are ranking lower on there, I'm not at all saying they are bad games. There isn't a single bad Dragon Quest game ever made, even including the spin-offs. It's a fantastic series, and I do love this series. I will always be a Dragon Quest fan. And yeah, so that's my list. Let me know what you think about it, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.